Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
I am addressing you on behalf of the people who honor the memory of the deceased every single day, in the memory of the civilians who died, who were shot and killed in the back of their head after being tortured. Some of them were shot on the streets, others were thrown into the wells, so they died there in suffering. They were killed in their apartments, houses, blowing up grenades. The civilians were crushed by tanks while sitting in their cars in the middle of the road, just for their pleasure. They cut off limbs, cut their throats, slashed their throats. Women were raped and killed in front of their children. Their tongues were pulled out only because the aggressor did not hear what they wanted to hear from them. So this is no different from other terrorists such as Daesh, who occupied some territories. And here it is done by a member of the United Nations Security Council.
Just think about that. That was the translator translating for Zelensky today at the United Nations, okay? And, I mean, there is no way to hold Vladimir Putin accountable, right? There just isn't, and everybody knows it. And that's what the Republican Party is striving for. No accountability, no checks, no balances, no nothing. Just, this crazy, oligarchical, kleptocracy where the elite rule because people are too dumb, people are too, ill-equipped to do self-governing anymore, and they'll be propagandized and told what we want them to know. We'll set one upon the other so that they're constantly fighting with themselves, and they won't even notice that we're stealing the room. We're stealing the towels. They're just stealing everything from you. This is their party. It's a party of subtraction. And I want you to get that it's subtracting everything from you. Not just, your money, but your right to vote, your right to privacy, your right to protest, just like Vlad. You can't protest in Russia. And, listen, we have a governor here in Florida who literally tried to say that protesting in Florida is illegal, that it would be deemed a riot if you had more than 5 people on the street protesting anything. They would be declared out of bounds. It would be declared a riot. And he also wanted to give drivers of vehicles the right to run over protesters if protesters were in the street. Allah had the higher. So, they keep on showing you who they are. They keep on telling you who they are. They keep on saying we need to steal from the people. They keep on saying we have to redistribute wealth to the top. They keep on referring to you as poorly educated, and they love the poorly educated. And you, honestly, some of you actually enjoy being called that, as long as it's being done by somebody with an R after their name. It won't turn out well. Having your rights taken from you, your right to vote, your right to speak, your right to protest, your right to assemble, your right to privacy. It will either turn out like China in a where you also can't protest, but that is a massive surveillance state, right? Everyone in China has a social score. I remember when W first tried with the Patriot Act to collect everybody's information, to collect everybody's emails and their phone calls and their, under the auspices of, we have to beat back terrorists, right? So everybody has to, say that it doesn't matter. And people were calling me up willing to give up their right to privacy in their own papers and person, right? Because they would say, because they were propagandized into saying, well, if I didn't do anything wrong, what do I have to worry about? I don't care if they spy on me. I don't do anything wrong. So that now turns into China. And what is China's deal? So you don't even have to do anything wrong to be on the bad list in China. you just have to be less than socially eloquent or graceful or lovely, and then you get a social score that's middling, that's mediocre, and that determines where you can live, and that determines where you can work, and that determines whether or not you get priority at the gate, whether or not you can travel, whether or not you can fly, whether or not because they're beating back terrorism. No, because they're controlling the people. But I didn't do anything wrong. You don't have to do anything wrong. It's unbelievable how willing people are to give away rights as long as somebody comes up to the microphone and they have an R after their name. And they could talk these people into doing anything, everything. Everything. So they can steal from you, so that they can do this. And one of the most basic elements of doing this, and by this I mean stealing, is we have to be one set upon the other. We have to be fighting with each other over things we would agree about. Like, what does freedom of assembly mean? Like, what does freedom of speech guarantee? Like, what does voting actually entail to have a free and fair election? Like that. Jerry in Baltimore.
Hey, Randy.
Hey.
Thanks for taking my call. For Tucker Carlson and those people that ask those sickening questions about are they crisis actors, they need to smell the death, the rotting corpses. Now, granted, it's been, winter up there, but I saw the video that Zelensky played today in front of the United Nations. It was unfiltered on whatever stream that they showed, but it stank. Think about meat that you've left in your refrigerator for 3 weeks or a month. Even though it's cold, you unwrap it, it stinks. And I believe this was much worse.
There was a little girl who actually wrote a letter, and I tweeted it out on my at Randi Rhodes, and she was explicit. She said, she had never known that corpses stunk so badly. She never knew that it smelled so rank, that it was such a hideous stench. But people understand what it smells like. They know what a dead animal on the side of the road smells like. They understand what death smells like. Why do we have to see it up close and personal for us to actually be appalled by it? Why is it that America has broadcasters that sit on their broadcasts on these massive platforms and tell people these are crisis actors, this was staged, and people actually believe it and are pro Vladimir Putin? I mean, if this would have happened in 1945 or 42 or 41, and people were saying Hitler's fine, and they're all crisis actors and this isn't happening, you'd be run out on a rail. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.